So, welcome to this wastewater treatment. This is our first session. We are going to talk about the wastewater characterization. In this session, we are going to talk about the parameters of wastewater, and we can define these as biological parameters, chemical parameters, and physical parameters. Mm, we have to take into account that there are several or different sources of water pollution. We have the domestic supply, the industrial supply, the irrigation, animal supply, and there are also some different activities that somehow affects the quality of the parameters of water. We are going to talk about the physical characteristics. This is our first group. We have four important parameters that we have to study: the temperature, the color, the odor, and the turbidity. The first one is important, the temperature, because somehow influences microbial activity, influences also the solubility of gases, and also the viscosity of the liquid. The temperature in the wastewater is slightly higher than in drinking water, and it has some variations according to the season of even the moment of the day. We have the color of the water. In fresh sewage is slightly gray, and in the septic sewage is the color is more darker gray or black. The odor is another parameter very important to study. The fresh sewage has a typical oily odor, relatively unpleasant. The septic sewage has a foul odor, very unpleasant due to the hydrogen sulfide gas and other decomposition byproducts. And finally, we have the industrial waste that has some characteristic odors, but this depends on the industrial activity. And finally, we have the turbidity. This is a qualitative parameter that is very important. It is caused by a great variety of suspended solids, and we are going to see the different kind of suspended solids in our next slide. Here we have the solids. We can define the solids as the organic and inorganic, suspended and dissolved, or settable solids in the water. And we have here all the different kind of solids that are in the water. First, we have the suspended solids. We can define this as the part of the organic and inorganic solids that are non-filterable. We have the suspended fixed solids. These are mineral compounds not oxidizable by heat, inert, which are part of the suspended solids. We have the suspended volatile. These are organic compounds oxidizable by heat, which are part of the suspended solids. The dissolved solids are part of the organic and inorganic solids that are filterable, normally considered having a dimension less than 10 to minus 3 micrometers. We have the dissolved fixed, that are mineral compounds of the dissolved solids. The dissolved volatile, these are the organic compounds of the dissolved solids. And finally, the settable, part of the organic and inorganic solids that settle in 1 hour in an Imhoff cone, approximate indication of the settling in the sedimentation tank. This parameter is very important because somehow defines the time that the water should be in the sedimentation tank. Another important group of parameters are the chemical parameters. We have different groups. We have first the indirect determination parameters. We have the BOD5. We can define this as the biochemical oxygen demand. This is measured at 5 days and 20 degrees Celsius. This parameter is associated with the biodegradable fraction of carbonaceous organic compounds. This is a measure of the oxygen consumed after 5 days by microorganisms in the biochemical stabilization of the organic matter. We have also the chemical oxygen demand. This represents the quantity of oxygen required to chemically stabilize the carbonaceous organic matter. It uses strong oxidizing agents under acidic conditions in order to be measured. And we have the ultimate biochemical oxygen demand. This represents the total oxygen consumed at the end of the several days by microorganisms in the biochemical stabilization of the organic matter. And we have the total organic carbon. This is a direct measure of the carbonaceous organic matter, determined through the conversion of organic carbon into carbon dioxide. The organic matter we can define as the heterogeneous mixture of various organic compounds. The organic matter comes from the decomposition of different organisms like insects, plants, and the organic matter is composed by proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids, and the different materials that could come from this decomposition of organisms. This is a very important parameter, the total nitrogen. The total nitrogen includes organic nitrogen, ammonia, nitrate, nitrite, and it is an essential nutrient for microorganisms' growth in biological wastewater treatment. The organic nitrogen and ammonia together are called the total keldal nitrogen, the TKN. We have four parameters that could be measured in the wastewater. The first one is the organic nitrogen. The nitrogen in the form of this is the nitrogen in the form of proteins, amino acids, and urea. The ammonia, this is produced in the first stage of the decomposition of organic nitrogen. The nitrate, this is the intermediate stage in the oxidation of ammonia. This is particularly absent in raw sewage. And the nitrate is the final product in the oxidation of ammonia, and this is also practically absent in raw sewage. But we have to take into account the nitrate comes from fertilizers, and this and is usually it comes from agricultural activities. Also, there is another chemical characteristic that is very important, is the phosphorus. The total phosphorus exists in organic and inorganic form. It is an essential nutrient in biological wastewater treatment, and this supports all the activity of the microorganisms, and somehow they help to decompose different kind of substances in the wastewater. We have two forms of phosphorus. We have the organic and the inorganic. The organic phosphorus is combined with organic matter, and the inorganic phosphorus we have forms in orthophosphates and polyphosphates. These are very qualitative characteristics. The pH, we all know what is pH. It's an indicator of the acidity or alkaline conditions of the wastewater. We know that the solution is neutral at pH 7, and it's important to take into account the biological oxidation processes normally tend to reduce the pH. It means that the biological oxidation tends to acidify the water. We have the alkalinity. This is an indicator of the buffer capacity of the medium. Is the resistance to variations in pH. The cause of this alkalinity is the presence of bicarbonate, carbonate, and hydroxyl ions. We have the chlorides. This comes from the drinking water and the human and industrial activities. And we have oils and grease, that these parameters are very important. Usually the first treatment in wastewater treatment is the separation of oil and grease. And we can define this as the fraction of organic matter which is soluble in hexane. And in domestic sewage, the sources are oils and fats used in food. Finally, we have the main biological characteristics. We have 6 groups. The first one is the bacteria. We know that the bacteria they are unicellular organisms. They are present in various forms and sizes. These are the main organisms responsible for the stabilization of organic matter. Some bacteria are pathogenic, causing mainly intestinal disease in humans. We have the archaea. These group of organisms are similar to bacteria in size, and also have the components of the cell are similar to bacteria. The difference is in the cell wall and in the RNA composition, and these group of organisms are very important for anaerobic processes. We have the algae. These algae are autotrophic photosynthetic organisms containing chlorophyll. They are important in the production of oxygen in water bodies in some sewage treatment processes. We find algae in lakes and reservoirs, and they can proliferate in excess, deteriorating the water quality. And normally the algae gives the green color to these water bodies. The algae are normally not present in untreated wastewater, but are present in the treated effluent from some processes, especially in the stabilization ponds. The other three group of parameters, the biological characteristics of the wastewater are the protozoa. They are usually unicellular organisms without cell wall. They are aerobic or facultative. They feed themselves on bacteria, algae, and other microorganisms. They are essential in biological treatment to maintain the equilibrium between the various groups. Some are pathogenic. This is very important to take into account. We have the group of viruses. They are parasitic organisms formed by the association of genetic material, DNA or RNA, and a protein structure. They are pathogenic and frequently difficult to remove in water or wastewater treatment. Finally, we have another group. They are the helminths. These are higher order animals, and we have to take into account the eggs present in the sewage can cause illnesses. So these are the three groups of characteristics in the wastewater that we have to study. So I repeat, we have the physical properties, we have the chemical properties, and finally the biological properties. So in our next session, we are going to talk about the wastewater treatment units and how each unit improves the quality of water, and somehow each unit is very important for certain number of characteristics of this that I already explained. So see you in our next session.